Hi, I'm Stewart Fisher and welcome to the Equity Energies Training Centre in lovely Lytham St Anne's. We're here to see a proper Scottish football cult hero. His name's Stephen Dobbie. You may know him from Queen of the South where he broke every goal scoring record going and he's got a statue at the stadium. Or you may know him from Rangers where he came through the ranks, Hibs where he was part of a team with Scott Brown, Kevin Thomson, or 4 playoff finals with Blackpool and working under Brendan Rodgers at Swansea. Let's hear what you've got to say. I'm going to ask you a few quick fire ones if that's all right. So, best player you've ever played against?
Played against? Being on the pitch was probably Aguero.
In that game you're talking about?
In that game, I was playing it. But 1-1, I'd probably say Bobo Balde.
Aye?
Just because...
When was that?
When he was at Celtic
and
I was at Hibs. You could actually hear him coming. Like, you heard these footsteps, you heard him like breathing.
You felt the ground move?
Yeah, honestly.
Aye.
I just, pass it away, because I didn't want to get hit with him. But yeah just pure physicality wise,
right.
He was probably the best defender I played against.
Best player you've played with?
Wilfred Zaha, by miles. Yeah, just like an absolute magician with the ball. Like, some days I just looked at him going, I'm not even sure he knew what he was doing, but it was just amazing. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, best player.
I'll spare there. I'm not going to the worst player then. Best...
I'll give you the worst player.
Okay, go for it.
Michael Doyle. Michael Doyle at Queen of the South, worst player ever. Best professional, worst player ever. Brilliant guy though.
Best manager, and that's a hard one because you've got a lot there.
I'd probably go for Brendan.
You've got to pick one.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, I'd probably go Brendan, because just football knowledge was how when there was a problem, how he fixed it on the pitch at half time. Yeah, he was top.
Do you, just on Brendan Rodgers, do you see him, will he stay at Celtic for a while now, or could you see him maybe being, if a big job in England comes back up?
I'd reckon he'll probably stay, his contract's done this time because of all the trouble last time. But listen, Brendan will always go to another higher team, whether that's...
Because it does occur to me that he might have some offers coming in. You never know down in England now, but there's...
Definitely. Will the time right after this be for the national team? Quite possibly. I mean, I'd love him to take the Scotland job. Do you know what I mean? But you just never know.
Talk me through your whole experience there, really, and I guess you wouldn't change it. Is that correct?
No, I wouldn't change it. I think the main thing that I always say that I took away from it is probably the grounding. Travelled the world, which was, I mean, before I went away with Rangers, I think I was 14, we went to Bermuda. I'd never flown before, so getting a passport and all that kind of stuff, I think it was that was a bit crazy. But travelled the world, went to Australia, went to Chile, when Sebastian Rosenthal was there, I think he sorted it. We went on a tour there, played against Colo Colo. So seeing the world, great grounding. Obviously, I would have loved to have played for the first team, but at that time you've got guys like Ronald de Boer, Billy Dodds, Torrey Andre Flo. Then you kind of see why I didn't.
How close? What was the closest you ever came?
I think you'd go up and train, that kind of thing, and I think Billy Dodds had been injured, so I kind of got the call to say, come up and train. You might possibly be in the squad. So obviously, buzzing in case it happens, and then I think Doddsy made it in time, so I was good mates with Doddsy, so I was a bit raging with him. So, but yeah, it's just part and parcel of football.
I read, I heard a story that you were the #1 boot boy, or you did a lot of the kind of boot boy stuff. I don't know if that was everybody did that, but you had quite a key role, and you were in with Jimmy Bell quite a lot, doing all that stuff. Yeah,
I think. You obviously, when you come in as a scholar, you get jobs. So I was obviously the youth team and reserve team boot boy at the start. Then the next year you get moved up if that's what you want to do. So being the first team boot boy, I loved it. I mean, it gave me a great grounding, as in polishing, shining the boots, make sure everything was there. I was obviously a massive fan, so to be around about first team players every day and get that connection with them, even though it wasn't in a training sense. I loved it. I loved making sure everything was tidy before you went home. Like Bomber would come up and check, and if it wasn't, we'd stay half an hour later. But I think
probably just find something. He
did. He did. He would open all the cupboards, make sure. So we had to make sure all the dubbing and the brushes were all put away in a certain way. But it was like getting you prepared for, in case you didn't be in football, you had that experience.
Who was the senior players that made a wee impression on you? I read, for instance, there was like a Christmas night out, you'd maybe get a few wee perks from some of the guys who were earning the bigger money then.
Yeah, we'd always, I don't know if you ever remember the candy bar. Do you remember that in Glasgow?
I don't remember that.
So the
you're a lot younger than me, so I should do. But
so the first team would go there, we'd go out on the same night as their Christmas party, and we'd go and spend an hour with them, and they'd obviously look after us for an hour, and then we'd go our separate ways. But it was always one of them where whenever like Christmas bonuses and that come around, I wasn't one to go and say, by the way, like, because
I cleaned your boots, what a great job I did.
They'd always say to you, like, come and see us before you leave, but I always felt, nah, I didn't really want to do that. So when we went out and they were there, then they would just come up, you've done a good job, keep it up.
Just a little envelope,
and then I'd just put it all in my inside pocket and count it in the toilet.
Go and spend it all.
Yeah, well, I'll not tell you how much, but the next day, I think I went home early and took my mum out for Christmas shopping the next day, so that paid for nearly everything. So
that's good.
I played in a reserve game at Firhill, and I scored 5, and luckily Bobby was there that night, so by getting released on the Friday, I was on trial at Hibs on the Monday, and I signed on the next Friday.
And Hibs, you know, it's kind of famous what if question in Scottish football. What happens to that team? You know, you've got Scott Brown, you've got Kevin Thomson, you've got Tam McManus, Gary Connor, Derek Riordan, yourself. Gary Caldwell's part of that, isn't he? He joined certainly, and young Stephen Fletcher, guys like that coming in. So just paint a picture of what that was like. I mean,
it was great.
Everything wasn't rosy for Bobby Williamson in the end. He didn't. You know, things didn't go great. Maybe the league results weren't great, but you had a storming League Cup run.
Yeah, I think it was. Listen, when you try and bed so many young players into the one squad, it's always, it can either go either way. And all for me personally, all you've got to look at is where those players went in their career. And the likes of Wits and Bruni and Tomo, like Gaz, Deeksy, they all had unbelievable careers. So for Bobby to see their potential and go, right, I'm just going to throw them in now. I think that was a bit of courage for Bobby. Yeah. And obviously getting to the final, beating Rangers, beating Celtic in the quarters, beating Rangers in the semis, you're like, these boys were going to achieve something, and then end up getting beat off Livingston. It was, but it was a good grounding, because I think then the younger players, they were like, okay, this is what it's all about.
You scored in the semi-final against Rangers, and it went to penalties. You had penalty as well?
Yeah, missed post.
Right. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Nobody's forgotten about that until we've brought it back up again.
No, it was.
But, I mean, that's a great moment to beat your boyhood team as well, isn't it? And
it was.
A lot of players you must have been. You still know that a lot of the guys will still be there.
Oh yeah, like coming on in the semi-final and scoring the equaliser against like Stefan Kloss in goal and Frank de Boer marking me. It was like, when you look back, I'm like, they were top players. So to come on and help the team that way. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that in the final. But
you didn't start the final, did that?
Didn't start the final, no.
I don't know if it was. I always wondered if that was maybe one of those games where there's so much hype. Everybody's like, oh, they've just got to turn up and win it. Livingston had managed. It was actually a kind of banana skin game, wasn't it, for young players?
Yeah, but as I said, when you throw so many young players in, they can get so high, but then there can be so many lows. And then beating Celtic, beating Rangers. Did we take it for granted? You just never know, but just what it is.
Have you got any good stories from, you know, what that team was like? What was a young Scott Brown and Kevin Thomson, all these guys? Was it chaos in the dressing room, or did you work hard? Or?
No, they worked hard. They were like, you could tell they were professional. Yeah. Bruni obviously started as a winger, flying winger with red tints in his hair. And then you can, as I said, you can see where they got to, where they finished, and how the careers they had. That Hibs had a lot of good talent in their hands at that time.
Yeah, and then obviously Bobby leaves, Tony Mowbray comes in. Yeah. Talk me through the change in dynamic. It's a very different kind of personality maybe to bring to all these young players, but a positive influence, but just kind of different.
Yeah, I think the style that Morga wanted to play was obviously a lot different from Bobby. Personally, Morga was great for me. To be fair, I wasn't as fit as I should have been for off the field reasons. and Mogga did give me a lot of chances. So even I think we played them in a reserve game 2 seasons ago at Sunderland, and I kind of said to him, "Listen, you put up with a lot." You know what I mean? I was grateful, yeah, I was grateful, but he said obviously every young player's got a different path, and yours just took a little bit more time. So yeah, it was good. It's fair to say I was liking the lifestyle more than I was actually actually putting the hard graft in. Not that I wasn't working hard, but off the field had to change. Obviously a lot of it, like the gym and all that kind of stuff, I never really bought into it when I was younger, until my last season at Queen's. I sort of, okay, I've got a good chance here to maybe either get to the Premier League or better. And I went away that summer, didn't go on holiday, trained as hard as I could. I came back a stone lighter, and had a great season where I got my move.
Forward to Queen of the South, 2008 Scottish Cup run, which is, it's a tremendous, must be a big moment in your life you still think about, and all culminates, well, a huge win. I was at the quarter-final when Ryan McCann scores from 80 yards.
Yeah. No one remembers my goal.
You scored
that one, yeah.
You've got Aberdeen in the semis, then all culminates, you've got Rangers in the final. So just talk us through that whole time in your life, and incredible time for a kind of provincial club to get in there.
Yeah, I think whenever anybody ever asks me about it, I always allude to the squad, like Stevie Tosh, Jimmy Thomson, Andy Ayton, Neil McFarlane. Like, we had proper men in the team. And to get to where we got to that year was because of the team spirit. But as you alluded about the Ryan McCann goal, I think the pitch was frosty, so we didn't train outdoor a couple of days before, and so we were indoor. I held someone off, broke my hand, so went straight to the A&E, and they said, "Yeah, you're going to be 6 weeks." And I was like, "No chance! Like, we've got the quarter final." So I ended up, the doctor at the time, his wife made a cast for us, and if you see the pictures, my hand, I can't move my hand, and I end up scoring the first goal. It comes out there, pull it down, and put it in. And then Ryan McCann's goal was... It
was a decent goal, from memory. The first
goalie,
one was all right.
Jamie McDonald kicked it long from a goal kick. It came right over my shoulder, pulled it down first time and put it in. Yeah. So I'm thinking, it's a wonder goal. And then Ryan McCann goes and scores for 84 yards. But what always gets me is how busy behind that goal was. So whenever I watch it, it's not the actual goal, it's actually the fans seeing the ball going towards the goal, and they start to move, and then it just makes you remember the feeling at that time.
And then I guess nobody really gives you much of a chance against Aberdeen at Hampden.
No, I remember being a big Rangers fan. I think Celtic drew away to Aberdeen, didn't they? So all the boys talking, it's got to be Celtic. The replays at Parkhead. So stupidly, like obviously being a Rangers fan, I got a pair of boots made, blue, red and white, because I thought, I'll have them for the semi-final. Obviously Aberdeen then go and beat them, and I've just wasted my money. But Did you
wear them in the final?
I think.
Or did you have to change?
I can't remember. I probably did wear them. But obviously when Aberdeen won, we were still like, this is still going to be tough. But as Chizzy, the manager, just said, listen, get your best shot, doesn't matter the score. As long as you stick together, then you can create something, and we did. And
then it all comes to pass that Rangers just happened to have a massive European final a couple of days before the game.
Yeah.
There's a whole big furore over the season being extended, etc. And you and a squad of the boys from the Queen of the South team end up at the European final.
Yeah, we I think, who was it they played? Parma? Was it Parma semi-final?
Fiorentina. Right, in Fiorentina, I think.
So the club had took us to Marbella, so they did, because there was a big gap from, I think it was League One at the time it was called, till the final. So they took us to Marbella for a training camp.
I could use like 4 week layoff.
And I remember, like, we were all up in this bar watching it, obviously knowing we're going to be playing Rangers in the final. And they win, so we're like, right, tickets, we're getting tickets, like, we've got to. And obviously being in Manchester, it was a lot easier, wasn't it? So 7, 8 of us went down, obviously all the trouble when we walked back to our car. and then we were obviously playing them a couple of days later, so it was a bit surreal.
And the game, you gave them a kind of almighty scare for a little while at least.
Yeah.
Talk me through that from your point of view.
I think it's one of them where we're like, we've got to give it our best shot. If it's not good enough, it's not. Coming at half time, 2-0 down. As I said, Chizzy was just like, listen, lads, you've done unbelievable this year to get here. Proud, made the city proud and the town proud. Just go and give it your best shot. And before we knew it, 10 minutes later, we were 2 each. But I think even how many goals I scored in my career, the feeling when Jimmy Thomson headed that in, I don't think, apart from maybe my goal in the final for Swansea, I don't think I can replicate that feeling.
Yeah.
And I thought for the next 10 minutes we were going to go on and win it. And then, unfortunately, Boydie does what Boydie did, wins the cup for them. I think, obviously, Roberto left and me and my wife are moving away for the first time from Glasgow. We just found out she was pregnant. And then obviously we're moving everything we own to Swansea. And then the manager that signed me is not going to be there. So as the transition was tough. I went down 3 games into it, broke 3 ribs, a game against Scunthorpe, and then wasn't in the manager's plans for the rest of till January. And then I kind of said to myself, I had a chance to maybe go to Aberdeen with Dell. That was maybe in the pipeline. But when I spoke to my wife, we were like, there's so many players who came to England and just came straight back if it's not worked. And I didn't want to be one of those players, so we came to Blackpool.
So Paulo Sousa, why did it not work with him?
Not sure. I think just the type of player he wanted up front. And at that time I was a striker. And when Brendan obviously, and then under Ollie here, kind of moved me about in the number 10, coming inside for the left, the striker that Paulo wanted, I could never be. So that's probably the main reason it didn't work.
So you're delighted then when Blackpool come calling and you get the first of these various loan spells?
Yeah, I think Suzanne was 3 days overdue with Jack, and so we were plotting. Swansea to Blackpool's a long way. We were plotting all the hospitals on the way in case our waters broke. Managed to get here. We were in a hotel in the front, and we played 2 games, and she went into labour on the Sunday morning. Yeah, so it was a bit a hectic turnaround for Jack being born. And
just tell me about the whole. You know, it's another one of these kind of managers that you've had a hell of a kind of run of managers.
Yeah.
Talk about the differences that.
I think under like Holloway and Ian McCall, that kind of thing, they always got the best out of me because they were a bit crazy themselves. I think you want to say, where Ollie was, listen, if they score 3, we'll score 4. So just go and show me what you can do and be creative. Don't worry about defending. Like we've got players in the team for that, and it probably suited me, my style of play, because I didn't want to tackle. Do you know what I mean? And it was great. We ended up going on a great run. We were tipped for relegation that season. We won promotion, so it just showed you how team spirit we had, but what he had created.
And Ian Holloway was basically just every day an adventure. Basically, you don't know what you're going to get when you come in. It could be doing this, doing that.
On it was. I loved it. I loved how chaos it was. Not sure now as a coach, but there were days like we've just walked around the training ground. The wind would be that bad. The goals wouldn't be locked away, and he'd see them blown across the pitch, and he'd just go, "Nah, not today, lads." And it'd be like, "Gaffer, it's a Thursday. We need to. We've got a big game on Saturday." No, we don't. Come on, and he would just take us for a fry up, and that was what we do. It was crazy, yeah. But when we would be in there, he'd be talking about tactics. We were sitting eating our sausage and beans.
Moving the salt.
Yeah, he was crazy. He'd do crazy stuff like that, Lucozade bottles, all that kind of stuff, but he knew what he was talking about.
Do you think that's something you'll take into your... And what will you take from him?
I think he's attacking. He had a lot of great ideas attacking-wise, how to break teams down from a defensive point. Which I think then when you get players that are so creative, and that would help. So I'll take that into my coaching and but yeah, you take bits from different people. You take other things that you might not do, but it's all a learning curve.
I mean, that's a kind of, people might say it's a bit of a dying art. A lot of managers set up to defend first of all, and this is how we're not going to give in away and we can press. You're talking about actually here we're going to get the ball and this is how we're going to create a goal and score.
Oh yeah, I think the good thing where Ollie knew is we had, say, Charlie Adam, who could ping a ball 80 yards right onto somebody's toe. So on the other side, if they were attacking down the left, we would leave the right winger up. Do you know, like Fletch, for instance, Taylor Fletcher, because as soon as it turned over, that's where the ball's going. So against different teams, you had different things, how we were going to break them down from us defending, which I loved because I was an attacker.
Was it a kind of, was the lifestyle, did you kind of go out and go for a beer and all that kind of stuff? Or because you'd kind of changed away from that to a degree.
Yeah, but I think what made us successful here was a lot of the players lived here.
Yeah.
A lot of the players' wives and girlfriends were together all the time. The players we did, we socialised a lot together. Not necessarily out all the time. Ollie would sort of take us mini golf or take us snooker or just things that we were always together. And that probably got us to where we needed to get to win.
So let's fast forward to the playoff final then. So it's Cardiff. Just get my playoff finals right. There's that many of them. Yeah. But so, you know, great day. I was watching that on Sky Sports. It's still shown periodically, that game, isn't it? Does Charlie score as well in that?
Charlie scores a free kick to go 3-2 up.
And it was a decent Cardiff team. So that must have been a great day to take a team like Blackpool up. Incredible.
It was, I think, coming off the back of, as I said to you, we were tipped for relegation to go to, and then I think we won 1-0, is that right, at home in Nottingham Forest in the semis?
I thought
maybe 2-1, maybe.
And then you won away, a big
to
away
go
win,
and then
4-3.
There was, whenever I speak to Blackpool fans,
I
came on and scored and set up to. But whenever I speak to Blackpool fans, they always say the semi-final. It's one of the best games I've ever been to. And I was like, what about the final? I'm like, yeah, but the semi-final was the best because going there and turning them over there was the pinnacle of the season.
And that would have been your first time at Wembley?
First time at Wembley, I think I got 20 minutes at the end. No real chances, but just to come from 4 seasons before being at the Barton to playing on Wembley that I watched as a kid. Do you know what I mean? Obviously it was the old Wembley at the time, but just that was surreal. So.
And then you get all this from the highs of this. It turns out who you're going to be playing for next year because Blackpool want you. Yeah. It turns out Brendan Rodgers is coming at Swansea. So.
Yeah, I was obviously I was contracted to Swansea, so Paula was still there. Yeah. Spoke to Ollie about 500 times in the summer to try and get it done, and he wanted it, and at the time they just couldn't get the fee done. Brendan came in, had a chat with him on pre-season tour in Holland. He just said, listen, I like the way you play. I'm going to build this attacking team and I think you can fit into it, especially in the home games. And I think we can achieve something. So here's a new contract if you want to stay. If you don't, then we'll try and talk about what's going to happen. And I was happy. Me and my wife made the decision, okay, let's just do that because we liked our time in Swansea. And then we got it signed instead.
Do you think he changed you as a player? I mean, he obviously changed your role a little bit. Did he improve you? I mean, I think you see that the way he's improving players at Celtic.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Like when I was at like Queens and all that kind of stuff, I was an out-and-out attacker. I never really thought about defending, if I'm being honest. And Brendan was the first one that sort of thought about. I didn't have a lot of pace. I was sharp, but I didn't have a lot of pace. So how could I be the link, because I was good on the ball and twisting and turning, and I seen the game a little bit different from your different other midfielders. So he kind of put me back one, and we worked a lot on being in the right positions defensively, but not really tackling. So it was like second balls. Or,
so you're not chasing, you're not wasting energy going chasing and things like that. You're kind of just ready to pounce.
Ready to win the second balls, connect. But then these are the areas, for instance, when I went to Nathan Dyer on the right, you need to be in this area because you either the 1-2 or you're bringing another player out, so he's got a one-on-one.
Yeah.
So all that tactical stuff, obviously, now being a coach, I'm like, that was great. Do you know what I mean? When we played at home, I would play. When we played away, Dan Pratley would play because he could run. So I would maybe score 2 at home, and then playing the next game, I was on the bench. But now when you look back, I'm like, yeah, we won promotion because of it, and he knew what he was doing. So he was very, very knowledgeable football man.
And this all culminates in another a return journey to Wembley.
Yeah, and I think that, like, the first year of being at Blackpool and winning promotion was amazing. But playing for Swansea the whole season, I think I made 44 appearances. Scoring in the semi-final and scoring in the final, I think I'll never. That's probably my greatest highlight.
You say you've got that picture of your celebration framed or something?
I have, yeah. I've got my cup final shirt with a medal, the picture of me hitting the ball on one side, and the picture of really running away with my arms out the other. So it's.
Is that a wee shrine in your
I don't
house?
really look at it that much. I mean, I've sort of put that in the past, but what it is, it's good for the kids to see now and again.
Definitely. We were talking about Brendan Rodgers. I mean, when you look at what he's achieved since, what do you make of it and what he's doing at Celtic now? He's got obviously kind of phenomenal resources there, but they're competing in the Champions League. What did you make of him, the whole Celtic kind of coming back and all that sort of stuff? He's won people over, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, I never in any doubt that he was not going to go at the top. Like you could see it. Like as soon as he walked in the door at Swansea, his ideas on the pitch. But at first I was like, he would talk blah 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 in English, and then he'd speak Spanish to the Spanish players, and I was like, I used to have Ian McCall that couldn't understand Scottish. But you knew straight away, like, this guy's like, his football brain was knowledgeable. But what he was, and a lot of people don't realise, he's man management.
Yeah, that's good.
So, for instance, if my family came down and met him for the first time, the next time they came down, he knew all their names. He knew, because he'd asked about them, their lives. He knew everything, who they supported, blah, blah, blah. So that little bit, even when I wasn't playing at Swansea, I still trained as hard as I could. I wanted to work the other players as hard because I wanted him to win. So that shows you what kind of guy and what kind of manager he was.
Well, that's a kind of Sir Alex Ferguson thing. Was always like that, knowing everybody, the tea lady at all the clubs and all that kind of thing. That wee kind of personal touch can take you a long way. So then, fast forward again, you do get a little chance to play in the Premier League this time. Your opening day was a kind of rude awakening.
Yeah, I think we were on holiday, and one of the midfielders, Leon Britton, we'd met them on holiday, and it was fixture day. So we're like, tell you the truth, we were a wee bit worse for wear, and then we were like, right, we better go and check it. And then when we seen it was Man City away, we were like, right, this is real now. Do you know what I mean? Because Leon had been with Swansea all the way through all the leagues, so it was probably like like, we need to be ready for this. Yeah. And we were, but when you go to play those kind of players, you see the different levels. I think it was Aguero's first game, comes off the bench in England, puts 2 crackers in, so you're like, okay, this is the next level you need to get to. Yeah. Well, when we came back to Blackpool, I had a full season where we nearly got relegated. We managed to just stay up under Paul Ince and then Barry Ferguson as manager.
Sorry, I should talk about Barry Ferguson. We should talk about that. Who again would be a guy he'd have been at the club. Yeah. He'd have been captain probably under Cap when you were there. Yeah. And then you play alongside him and also managed by him. Yeah,
he was captain under Ince. And obviously I came back on loan, and then Fergie became the manager. Yeah. Done extremely well to keep us up with the squad we had. I think we went to Brighton on the Friday, drew 1 each. And then we had Wigan in the derby, beat them 2-0 there, and that kept us safe. So Fergie done really well to keep us up. I think he brought Bob Malcolm with him and Malky Thomson, so that was a good reunion with some guys that I knew.
So were they he's number 2?
Number 2, number 3, yeah.
Right, so. And so Malky Thomson's still at Rangers,
yeah, he's the reserve team manager, isn't he?
And so Bob would have been at the Rangers when you were there
as
well?
Yeah, Bob was from Springboig and I was from Ballarnot, so Bob used to take me to Murray Park, so he'd hold on because he was speeding all the time. When I was at Swansea, Lenny was interested at the time, but obviously one phone call to my dad. That was.
So which season would that have been? Would that have been the kind of?
We were in the Premier League, I think. Yeah, I think we were in the Premier League, and Lenny liked the way I played, and obviously I phoned my dad to say, listen, there's a bit of interest from Celtic. And
I mean,
he hung the phone up.
Would that have been ever something you thought about, or not?
No,
seriously?
I don't think so. I think one thing hit home when speaking to my dad was think about what you're going to do, because being a Rangers fan and having the boys, like I always wanted to take the boys to Ibrox to watch Rangers play, and I think then if you play for Celtic, that changes the dynamic of that.
Becomes difficult.
So it was wise words from my dad.
You end up going back to Queen of the South.
Yeah.
Talk me through that move, because a lot of people said, why is he not playing the Premiership in Scotland and all this sort of stuff?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, you were clearly good enough. You were banging in ridiculous amounts of goals.
I think I'd waited all the way till I want to say the start of August. I had a few sniffs from English teams, and by chance I keep in contact with Big Jimmy Thomson, so he was the assistant at the time, and I just said to him, listen, what do you think about that? And he went, yeah, well, what are you thinking? Like, what would you need to get back here? So obviously it wasn't going to be a lot, and I always said that I would go back because they were. If I'm being honest, I probably didn't think at that age. I thought it would be a wee bit later. But when Jimmy came back and said, yeah, the chairman said yes, and the manager said yes, this is what we'll give you, I was like, yeah, okay, I'll be in the car and I'll make my way up.
And part of that was the logistics of living here with the kids, and it's actually the right side of the country to commute to, etc.
Yes, just simple things like I would need the Monday off because obviously my kids, they've got football training, that kind of thing. If that's the case, then if we can work around it, obviously we'll get a game on the Tuesday, then I'll be in on the Monday, that's without saying. But if I can do my own gym work on Monday down here and be with the family after the game at the weekend, and it was all sound. They made it work for me, which I'm very grateful, because the 5 years that I had with Queens, I loved every minute of it.
And obviously, like you've got a statue at the ground now. I mean, you're scoring like, was it 11 hat tricks for the club?
Yeah, I think it was.
5 in one season.
Yeah.
And record goal scoring, was it 43 in the end? Or
43.
More? 43.
Yeah.
I mean, 43 goals in a season. That's kind of into Ronaldo, kind of Messi territory.
Yeah.
Nobody really does that now.
I'm still a bit bitter about that as well, because I tore my hamstring 3 times that season.
Right. You could have got it 50.
I could have got 60 at least.
But that's kind of usually a sign that the players, maybe you were wearing the wrong league there. That you probably you were too good for that.
Even when I was there, I got numerous offers.
I
didn't really sign. I think the first time I went, I signed a 2-year, and then after that it was just 1 year all the time. And I had numerous times Premier League teams, but I wanted to play for Queen of the South. It wasn't. I didn't have anything more to prove. It wasn't like I want to play in the Premier League. It was, I want my kids now to see me playing every week, making a difference to a team that I loved from back in the day, that did so much for me.
Yeah.
So regardless of like the statue and all that, it was more, I'm coming to the end. I want my boys to see me play. And then I went on and captained the club and all that kind of stuff, which was amazing. But that was the reason I stayed. It was nothing to do with anything else, extra money or proving I could play in the Premier League. It was more, I want my children to, because I'll be a long time retired, I want them to see how I played.
The Rangers thing is a regret, or a kind of something you wish you had happened for you?
Not a regret. I think it was more the time never happened again. I mean, when they went down the leagues, if I was out of contract, I would have went and played for free. Do you know what I mean? But there was never a time I was non-contracted when they were down, because I would have easily
you were playing for free at Bolton, is it?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I would have easily went for very little just to pull that jersey on. That was it's one that hopefully I'll manage one day.
Well, I was going to go into the coaching then, because you come back down, you play Fylde, but you're already starting to do. You were coaching the reserves at Queen of the South, weren't you? So this is something you're serious about. You've obviously got to a good level at this now. Just talk me through it, and who are the managers that you'll pull from most, do you think?
Well,
are you an Ian Holloway or are you a Brendan Rodgers?
If I could get anywhere near any of the two, I'll be very happy. But when I was at Queen's and I started doing the reserves, what a lot of people don't really realise is the reserves were on a Monday, so that was my day off. Do you know what I mean? So my day from when I was spending it with the kids and all that kind of stuff, because I was serious about coaching, then it doesn't become a day off, if that makes sense. So, but the only way to learn is to do it.
Yeah.
So giving that time up that side has obviously now helped me now. And then I went to Fylde, where when I left Queen's, I was like, yeah, that's me done, I'm retired. And then Jim Bentley at the time said, come on, just come for a cup of tea and we'll have a chat. So I was adamant that was me done, told my wife, doesn't matter what it says. 20 minutes later, I drove out of Fylde. I was the 18s manager and I was signed to play again. So I was like, okay, all right, let's go again. But I've loved the coaching journey. I think it's 8 years I've been on it now. I've loved every minute of it.
Yeah. What's the dynamic like in terms of you doing a lot of the drills for Steve, and Steve's kind of taking a wee step back and kind of looking and observing?
The gaffer's great. I mean, Aggers is number 2. We'll come in the morning, me and Richard Keogh, and we'll say what we want today, and we'll talk about what we want to get out of the session, and then obviously we'll run it then past the gaffer, and he'll, yeah, okay, or maybe why don't you change that, because maybe we're looking for that for the game on Saturday. And then we'll go and implement it, and the gaffer will watch, and then if he thinks he needs to step in, especially he'll do the tactical the day before the games. So a lot of coaching, a lot of learning.
Yeah.
The most thing for me, learning wise, I'm really interested in why the gaffer makes decisions. Do you know what I mean? He's managed at the highest level, so why he makes subs, why he makes tweaks of the formation at that time. What has he seen? So then after the game, the next day or whatever, it's like, gaffer, why did you make that?
Yeah.
I'm just interested. So that's what I'm getting from it.
Was he a guy you knew previously, or was it because you were kind of in, and then Neil Critchley was in, wasn't he? Who's obviously at Hearts now. What was the dynamic there? Did you were kind of caretaker? You kind of stood in for a bit?
Yeah. So I got lucky enough when Michael was here, and then Mick. I came up and helped out, and then when Mick left, I took the team for six games, which was amazing, because I think that's either you can do it or you can't do it.
Or your name's on the door.
Yeah, if you can't do it, it's all right, I've still got a lot of learning to do to try and get that opportunity again. But when I did it, I was like, yeah, I can do this. Like this is where I want to be. And then when Neil came in, he was obviously wanting to bring his own guys in, so I sort of
can step down to the teens again.
Yeah, I think the main thing for the club was probably me going back to the development team to help the younger ones, and it probably wasn't the right time for me to be in the first team squad as a coaching staff. And then when the gaffer came in, I think I got a phone call on a Monday, went and met him on a Tuesday, and obviously me being enthusiastic, it was yes straight away. Do you know what I mean? And the gaffer just said, I want 2 young ones with us with enthusiasm. Don't hold back. If you see stuff, you say it. And it's been great. I've loved every minute of it.
Yeah, I'm just talking about, we were talking earlier about Kevin Thomson, Scott Browns and all that. There's a few of you who have kind of, Scott Brown was at Fleetwood just up the road, wasn't he? I don't know if you'd have maybe said all of you would have been managers, but he's there with Stephen Whittaker. There's other guys from that team. It's just the new generation coming through. Did you think they would also be managers? And would you have been, however many years ago that was, would you think, here we go, boys, we'll be sitting down teaching the next generation?
Yeah, I don't think you ever know. Like I've met players that I've played with through my career, now being a coach, and some of them are still playing. And I always ask, did you think I'd ever be coaching? They're like, no chance. But I don't think you ever know until you go and do it. Like there's a lot of players that go and do their badges and then straight away go, no, that's not for me. Where as soon as I was doing my badges, and then I started like helping the reserve team and all that, straight away I was like, I want to give things back, and I want to learn, and I want to be the best that I can be. And still, as I said, going through the academy stuff, Like, it gives you a great grounding that it's all round about like developing players, not necessarily need to win at in the weekend's game. It's about what we've been working on with him. Can we see a little bit that we've been working that he's getting better at? So all that side of it now coming into we must win. That helps you then, because we've got young players in the squad. That helps my journey as well.
So I guess you're happy here, obviously doing that. I mean, but there is a kind of long-term goal to be have your name on the door all the time. Maybe if it takes you 5, takes you 10 years or whatever, you're calling the shots.
Oh, definitely. I think I've always been an ambitious person. As I said, I was never really one for even walking out of Wembley being nervous, because at the end of the day, I was like, it's a game of football. Like, I'll go and show what I can do, and if it's not good enough, it isn't. But I'll never be nervous of what I'm going to do. So taking that into my coaching now, that learning under the gaffer in Aggers is priceless. But down the line, I definitely want to be the best version of myself and get to the highest level if I can.